Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. I wanted to do a little bit of a discussion video today talking about Toku. Why do I say it like that? This is a bad take. I'm gonna not do this one. Dawson's Rambles. Hey YouTube, Awesome Writer here. In today's video, I'm going to have a little bit of a discussion about Toku. Obviously, that's something that comes up a lot on the channel. This intro isn't really great either, but I'm just gonna keep rolling with it. So, as you can see from the title, the idea is like, could Toku, mainly like Sentai and Rider, become more popular in the US? Mainly talking about this has been a conversation that's happened a lot over the years, especially in more recent times, as there's been more accessibility in regards to certain things like Sentai DVDs, Rider Blu-rays, streaming, Bandai bringing over some of the premium products available to pre-order in the US, figure arts available to pre-order for quite some time. So it's been an ongoing conversation, but I've seen it take a little bit more prevalence in some circles, with Power Rangers taking a hiatus of like, could Toku, take its place or fill the void in the meantime? And I want to be clear, I don't want Toku, meaning Sentai and PR, or Sentai and Rider, to take PR's place. I think that both can exist. I think the idea of Sentai and PR becoming more, not mainstream, but more, known and accessible and liked, doesn't mean like, yes, that's a PR, only the almighty Sentai. No. I'm not saying that, because I'm sure I'll get comments of that, of like, no, Sentai should be on HBO. I'm sorry, I'm going really hard on the fans in this one. I'm just getting pre-annoyed at the Sentai purist comments. That's not what I'm saying here, because I think that Power Rangers, whether it's Sentai adaptions or whether it's a reboot, can coexist with whatever this idea is. I do think that Power Rangers' existence, whether it's airing or not, presents some interesting issues for Sentai in particular. Let's talk about it. So, one thing I was thinking about with this was, and it's a bit of a different case, is two things that I think from Japan that are more popular in the US, or at least well known, which is Godzilla, which is Toku, it is Toku, but it's just different, you know what I mean? And then, of course, anime. Godzilla, obviously, ever since I was younger, has been something that was known. Whether or not somebody was a fan of it, or had seen the movies, like almost everybody that had seen a TV at one point. Even if the TV didn't turn on, they knew what Godzilla was. And obviously, with stuff like recently Godzilla -1, the MonsterVerse movies, it's become more popular. So that is something I would say that's broken into the mainstream over here. People will use the term kaiju for, even though it's a monster movie and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a known thing. And same thing with anime, that's become, over the last decade or so, much more of a mainstreamish thing, where it's more common to recommend anime, to hear people talking about anime. It's become something that the US has embraced more in terms of nerd culture. And I was thinking about, like, could the US do a similar thing with Toku, like with Rider and stuff like that? It is a bit interesting with anime because when I was younger, it's not like it was necessarily niche, but it was like different. Like, it wasn't like now where you have so many streaming services and more direct dubs, and it was like a lot of localization, which I actually kind of prefer, because like sometimes you need to change the sentences so they make more sense in English. Also, I prefer our music. But anyway, I'm a hot take on that. I also don't always view Pokemon and Digimon as anime, just because when I was little, that was just the Digimon and Pokemon show, and it wasn't until I was older that I knew that they were anime. They were just the cartoon. Anyway. Point is, it was a little bit different, and now, like, because anime is more revered, you get stuff like keeping the Japanese music and doing more direct translations of the dialogue, even though it's awkward when you do it that way sometimes. That's a whole other video of my hot takes about anime. But the point is it's much more mainstream now and widespread outside of, like, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! People will know about, like, One Piece and Naruto and Hunter x Hunter. Attack on Titan made, I would say, very arguably big mainstream strides. Now, I can't say for sure, because never say never, but I don't foresee, like, Kamen Rider having a wave of popularity like that where it becomes mainstream. But I am curious if, like, Toku could become a little bit more popular. I think that, like, Ultraman is a little bit more well-known, too, in terms of, like, I think, not up there with Godzilla, but sort of in that same arena where I think more, if you were to, like, do a survey, this is just based on my experience with interacting with people and, like, observing pop culture, that I think more people probably know the name Ultron. They probably do know more Ultron. Know the name, why I say Ultron again? You don't even know my name. I'm the Lizard King. More people know the name Ultraman probably than Kamen Rider. I would say, in terms of the name, more people know Godzilla the name, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and then Sentai. And you're probably thinking, why Sentai so low? Because of Power Rangers. I think most people, or a lot of people, don't know the name Sentai. I think most people know what Power Rangers is. I think most people in that group also know it comes from a Japanese show, but I don't think as many people know it's called Super Sentai. I think they just think of it as Power Rangers, and that's the end of the day. So that's kind of the problem here, is that when it comes to Toku like that, where it's Rider or Sentai, where it's kind of in that similar-ish category of Toku, when we've tried to do things here, whether it's Dragon Knight, or people will just see footage or pictures of Rider or another Toku, they'll just go, it's Power Rangers. And then also Power Rangers is a or like an Urban Dictionary term now for of poor quality. So I think that's an uphill battle it faces, is that people will see it as Power Rangers or just Japanese Power Rangers. I also don't care if you refer to, if you're a casual, if you refer to Kamen Rider or Sentai as Japanese Power Rangers. I really don't care. That's totally fine. That's your frame of reference. But anyway, I think that Power Rangers' reputation in that is a little bit of an uphill battle in terms of that, which is kind of unfortunate. Not because, again, Almighty Sentai and Toku is superior, because I do think there is good PR, and there's a lot more similarities between Sentai and PR in terms of the goofiness and badness than people are willing to admit. But in terms of like when I was catching up on Kamen Rider and I was watching Geats and Revice and watching some of the action sequences and when some of the drama was going down, I'm like, this is really good. I mean, obviously there's like goofy aesthetics and weirdness going on, and you know, unnecessary, like before they transform they got to do like this. I'm like, why? Just push the button. Obviously there's a bunch of weirdness going on, but there's also just awesome stuff. I'm like, for like the budget of this being a kid show that airs like in the morning, this looks better than some TV shows on air here, and like the drama and the storylines are actually investing. And like Kamen Rider in particular, because the storylines are more serialized like anime, if like you could get rid of that, oh, that's just Power Rangers is cheap, I think that could be something that people could like. Again, I don't see it, I can't say for sure, but I don't see it becoming as popular as anime or as mainstream as anime has become. But I think under the right circumstances, stuff like Ultraman, again, I'm not an Ultraman fan, but just judging by the fact that they have quite a bit of Blu-rays, and they do dubs too. They do dubs too, which I don't know. I don't know how well that worked for Ultraman Bazaar or Blazar, or I don't know, but Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw is ready! I'm not in favor of that in the sense that I'm against it. Like, no, it has to be the original voices. It's just, those are weird for me. Like, because I prefer a dub when it comes to anime. I guess it depends on the voices, because I couldn't watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! 5D's anime, not because, oh my god, the originals were so much better, but because of, like, the dude voicing Tristan didn't try to do a different voice. It was just Tristan. Anyway, point is, I do prefer a dub. But I don't like dubbing for like live action because it makes it funny. That can be fun, but I think that wouldn't help. Like, you're already thinking like, oh, this is the lame Japanese Power Rangers show, Power Rangers is lame, and then you have dubbing, and I don't know, that always just brings about bad dubs and makes me laugh. Like, I tried to, when I got into Netflix's Dark, which is one of the best time travel storylines of all time, by the way, you should go watch it. It's in German, and like, it defaulted to English, like dubbing when I first started it. I'm like, oh, maybe this will be easier, but I just could not. It's just, it makes it funny, and it takes me out of it. So again, I don't know how well that works for other people, but bottom line is I think Ultraman has made some pretty decent strides. And looping back to my overall point, is I think Sentai and Rider, under the right conditions, if we can get things going with streaming and availability and get more people to check it out and spread word of mouth that it isn't the Power Rangers people know in their heads is bad and cheesy, I think that could actually do pretty well here, honestly. I would love to see that. As far as Sentai, I think it's a little bit more of an uphill battle because there's much more of a direct correlation with Power Rangers. And in a way, in terms of getting exposure, I would argue you would have to use the Power Rangers name. Like, I think it's smart that on the Sentai boxes they put, before there was Power Rangers, there was Super Sentai, because that's going to make you know it. And no, I can't say this for sure, because I didn't send out my research team before I made this video. And I also forgot to hire a research team. I'm 95% certain that across the world, the name Power Rangers is more known than the name Sentai. Like, I know people, because I see people in the comments all the time being like, you know, Power Rangers thinks they don't need Sentai. Sentai's huge! I'm like, Sentai's huge in Japan, but I feel like worldwide more people know the name Power Rangers because it made much more significant splash. That's not a knock against Sentai, because obviously Power Rangers is taking from Sentai, but I'm just saying, in pop culture, I can't think of a time I ever heard a Super Sentai reference. I've seen a Kamen Rider reference, I've seen Kamen Rider and Ultraman toys in the background, but in terms of like Power Rangers and Sentai, I've seen Power Rangers mentioned in so many different movies and TV shows. Even, there was something like from the UK I was watching that they made a Power Rangers reference, and I was surprised. So I think you would almost have to use the name, but also, because you can't separate it anyway, because someone's going to recognize it as Power Rangers if you see G-Ranger, you can't just pretend it didn't exist. I think there's a little bit more of an uphill battle there. Just because I think that you could arguably get people to sort of separate their minds from Power Rangers when it comes to Rider and Ultraman, but not as much because Sentai and PR are like the same thing. It would be nice to be able to get that, to be able to get some streaming and to get people to want to check it out more. I do think it's not impossible, but like I said, I could foresee in terms of something becoming more popular that you hear more people in different nerd circles talking about. I could see it being Rider and Ultraman. Also, not that Sentai can't have great stories, but I think the serialized nature of Rider really helps it. Because like, again, when I was watching Revice and stuff and Geats, and I was thinking like, this could do well here. It's like a really awesome, like the effects look great, the action's cool, I'm really engaged in the story. Obviously with King Odra and stuff, I'm engaged in it, but like by and large, like 70% of a given Sentai series is like the same episode, so that's another thing. But I'm curious what you guys think. Do you think that Toku could become more successful in the mainstream? And by mainstream, I don't mean we're gonna have the Toku MCU on screens. I just mean like something that's more commonly talked about and gaining interest in the nerd communities like anime. Let me know what you think in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. See you notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.